Hey guys, it's your girl Multimedia 7 here to do a God versus Tarot. It's been a while, right? So I attempted to do a God versus Tarot reading about a few days ago, maybe 2-3 days ago. And honestly, the energies, the projections, it was a bit overwhelming. Now, I haven't been doing readings or uploading readings for a little while because, one, I have other things I have to attend to, and two, it was Women's Month, so, originally I would tell what was going on with tarot, and this is a female-dominated industry that we're talking about here. So, before I go into that, also, it was Aries season, which has to do with business. So a lot of my clients, they were doing their thing when it came to the singers and rappers. A lot of them, they understood the assignment. A few of them, just honestly, like, I can't even say disappointing, but it was just like, they still don't get what American Heritage Society is necessarily here for, but that's okay. My supporters are always going to be supported as they do support me. Now, it's at the month of May, and Mother's Day is coming up, and if you're not already enlightened, this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. So, like I was saying, I made a video for God vs. Tarot the other day, and when I made the video, I felt like it was me more or less venting about the energies that were being projected my way instead of actually giving you guys a real message. I prayed on it, I spoke to God, and I'm just like, if I'm supposed to release that message, I'm going to release it, but if it's something I need to see, then something I need to see. And it was something I needed to see, and that's where the Dreamcatcher messages came from. Now, going back into it is Teachers Appreciation Week. Now, this is a predominant placement of Sagittarius. If you are doing anything in the teaching field, if you're trying to teach others and you don't have that predominant placement, just wrap it up. No, not to be funny or anything like that, but it's just like, some things can be taught and some people can teach and some just can't. It is what it is. But with that being said, moving forward with this particular segment of God versus Tarot and just the enlightenment that I've had from God these last 2 weeks, that I just been conversing with him and talking about how I should move forward with this actual segment of God versus Tarot. Today actually I had an interesting conversation. The purpose behind, I wouldn't say the major purpose behind it, but a predominant meaning as to why we have now American Heritage Society for the general public is because I grew up from a Christian background, but that never made me particularly rebellious against other people's beliefs and cultures. I feel as though, from my own personal bias and opinion, that a lot of people who do feel as though they worship God, or they do worship God, or they've been to church, or they have different spiritual beliefs where they particularly have a God, quotation marks, in whom they pray to. I just feel like when it comes to spirituality, regardless of religion, everybody is, to my own belief, is praying to the same particular God. Now, if you're saying gods and goddesses and you're calling specific God deities, that's different. I'm talking about, for example, how a person could be Muslim and say Allah, but that's still a different meaning for God. A lot of people just practice and worship differently, and I honestly feel like there's nothing wrong with that. It's not harming anybody. As long as you're not harming anybody in the process, then it's cool in my book. Now, I had a particular conversation with a young man today who was just telling me about his background. The major topic in which a lot of people find themselves saying is, oh, I went to church as a child, or I grew up going to church and I saw how the people acted, and now I don't believe in religion. That's what these particular groupings of people say. And I find it very sad because, me honestly, I don't believe that you necessarily have to go to church in order to have a main relationship with God. You can talk to God however you like to talk to Him. You can speak to Him however you like to speak to Him. There is dreams. There is going to actual church. There is people who read text. There's so many different ways in which God will speak to you. You don't always have to look for that audible voice. Now, once you've advanced to a certain point, you'll be able to hear it. You'll be able to discern what and whom the voice is. Now, while I was speaking to this young man, and he was telling me his own opinions about how he felt based on his own family traditions and how he grew up and what he's seen, he was very wise to, realize that, churches, they are big businesses. Let's be honest. If you have ever grew up in a church and you witnessed how church folk act, I'm not going to say it's always the best, but you have to understand that people are just merely flesh and everybody isn't perfect. When you go to church, you do not go to church to see what everybody else is doing. You go to church because you want to hear the word, you want to be enriched with enlightenment, so it can help you progress in the future, short term or long term. Now, the man was saying that he grew up with a spiritual father, like both sides. His mother was a high priest, and then he had a spiritual father from Africa that was I think he's called it a Baba or something of that sort. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we actually got to have an intellectual conversation about God and Jesus and who these people are to us, and who these spirits are to us, and who these holy beings are to us. And from different standpoints, we still were able to understand one another without judgment. Not necessarily, I just personally believe in my own bias. That's how God wants it to be. There's no way that you can correlate with people when you're trying to be argumentative and it's all right to believe in what you believe in, but when you force the opinion on others, that is when backlash sometimes can come. Is that what God necessarily wants? Sometimes those situations do arise so people can't see each other's viewpoint, but sometimes you just gotta lead by example. And with this Tarot versus God message today, I just want to let the general collective of tarot readers know that there are some good readers out here. There are some misconceptions, and there definitely are other routes of divination that you can choose to do. Me personally, from my personal experience, this is why I do these sort of readings, to let you guys know that, whatever cards you guys carry and use are predominant in the reader's life. So whatever reader reads you with tarot cards is going to manifest in some way, shape, or form in the own reader's life, and not just the consumer, the person who comes to watch these readings. You have to understand that. So it's not that I necessarily have a problem with tarot readers, it's just that this is something I had to view, watch, understand, and correct. Now, tarot readers will use those oracle cards or depiction is the same thing, but it's just when you use the words can be used in divination. So Me personally, I would rather watch somebody who is more articulate, instead of just heavily depending on tarot cards which derive from a certain time period, or have the man who should not be named or cared for in their deck. That's all. I just wanted to leave this message with you guys today, and hopefully you guys learned something.